Here we go. Good morning, lady bosses. Coming to you from Pine Forge, Pennsylvania, Donna Manley for our weekly Tuesday live. And today we have a live studio audience. Today my mom is here with us, so this is kind of fun having a live person in the room. So if I say something funny, just like laugh to make people know you're here. So somebody thinks I'm funny. Okay, we'll wait. Somebody's on. My guess is it's going to be Rachel because she's always the first one on. So we'll give it about a minute. An update since last week, because last week when I came to you, I was talking about how I had 50 colors going on in my hair, and I did finally go back. So sorry, Stephanie, I did do the box. I always do the box, but I know. Totally respect what you do, and most people shouldn't do that. Okay, let's see. No, we're almost at 10:01. We'll wait till we're at 10:01, and then we'll start. Okay, somebody else is here. Well, welcome. Another gorgeous day. Thank God we got some rain this week. We really needed it in Southeast PA. It was getting pretty dry. And okay. Oh, you know what? I forgot. I need to scroll over, then I can see. Good morning, Bunny. Good morning, Rachel. And somebody else is here. Ciao, Bella. Good to see you. Always so happy to have you here. And I hate when a phone call comes in the middle of this. Okay, let's get started. Topic today is, so you think you're a good listener. And of course you do, because you are, right? I mean, we're women. We care about people. We want to help people. And we really love to have the heart to hearts and let our girlfriends, cry on our shoulder and just help people all we can. And yeah, I would guarantee almost everybody on this call probably thinks they're a really good listener. But in my experience, and probably in yours, you realize a lot of people think they are, but they're really not. So I want to talk about that. And the reason I really want to talk about it now is because I don't have to tell you, it feels like the world has gone to hell in a handbasket right now, right? I mean, it's bad enough when you're just in a political climate that's making all the ugly come out in people. But then we moved into COVID, and then we moved into BLM. And, then it was the giant hornets, and then it was the alien invasion, and then it was the zombie apocalypse. And you get my drift. But with so many things going on, I have never seen so much ugliness in my life. And I can tell you right now, there's one easy, simple answer to it. It's never going to happen, but it would be as easy as just everybody in the world, all of humanity, just being more kind to each other. Easy, way easier said than done, but that's all it takes. So bottom line, we can't fix the whole world. We can't make it better, but we can make ourselves better. And I don't have to tell you about the ripple effect. If you just do all you can to make yourself better, you know what it feels like if somebody really treats you kindly and it really makes an impression on you. What do you want to do? You immediately want to pay it forward. So the more we just learn to be kind, learn to help each other, learn to be compassionate, the more we're going to see that ripple effect. So all we can do is make ourselves better. So what we're going to talk about is first, looking at some of the signs that you might not be as good a listener as you think you are. Good morning, Amy. Good to see you. The thing is, you might think you're a good listener, but really listen, because if you identify yourself in any of these signs, think about how you can change that up a little bit so that people really feel listened to when they're talking to you. Because if you let people feel like you're listening, that's how they feel they're cared about. And that's how we start the ripple effect of just spreading kindness, right? Okay, so here's the first sign. The first sign is that you interrupt all the time because you think you know what the person's going to say. And maybe you do. How many people do you sync with so well that you can repeat each other's, finish each other's sentences? Okay, that happens a lot. It's a very easy thing. So it's just natural to just do that. Try not to do it. Remember, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Just let them talk. Doesn't matter how long it takes. Give them the respect to let them say what they want to say. Bunny, kindness is queen of caring. Listen to understand, not to talk at people. Bunny, that's good. That's perfect. And I have a few things right on that topic. Good morning, Norma. So that's one thing. Maybe you interrupt more than you should to finish somebody's sentence. Just give them the respect to let them be heard, because that's going to matter a lot to them. Okay, here's a big one. And the thing is, this is where I have to catch myself. And this is one of the biggest things I see that make people feel like they're not cared about. And I caught myself even this morning at my networking meeting. But you turn the conversation back to yourself. Okay. Somebody says, oh my gosh, I've waited all my life and next year I'm finally going to Italy. And I want to jump in and say, oh my gosh, I've been there 12 times and I love it. And this is my favorite place. And this is where I like to eat. And these are the museums I like to see, yada, yada, yada. I don't do that. I hope I don't do that. But so many people turn the whole conversation back to them. Wouldn't it be better to just say, oh my gosh, I've been there and I love it. Tell me about your trip. Tell me where you're going to go. Ask questions to encourage them to tell their story. Because if you want to be a good listener, you want them to be talking to you, right? And you want them to feel like you care about what they have to say. So that's what you do. You've all been in business meetings and networking meetings where, somebody starts talking about their business or whatever, and there are at least two people in the room who chime in and hijack the conversation because they know more about your business than they do, because they know everything about everything, and they're constant hijackers. So stop trying to hijack the conversation back to you because you have so much to say. If you do that, nobody's going to talk to you because people want to be heard and you're not taking time to listen. When I'm with people like that, believe me, they're not the people I pour my soul out to, because you're just like, why bother? They're not listening anyway. Good morning, Vina. Good to see you. The next one, the next sign that you might not be a real good listener is you don't ask questions. If you're just sort of sitting there comatose, just listening to them talk and not engaging at all, then they don't know if you're listening. They don't know if you're 1,000 miles away. They don't know what's going on. So ask questions to show that you're engaged and to show that you care about what they're saying. If they're talking about a painful situation they're going through right now or just some real conflict, you might ask them, gosh, I'm sorry. Like, how does that make you feel? Ask open-ended questions to encourage more conversation. But at the same time, you're showing that you're really listening and you really care about what they have to say. Here's another one. Are you real fidgety? Are you avoiding eye contact? Are you like nudging along to help them get to the point quicker because, it's just taking too long? They're dragging it out too much. If you do any of that stuff, if you're not looking at them, if you're fidgeting or looking at your phone, if you're doing any of that, you're making them feel like you'd really rather be somewhere else. And I'll tell you what, if you want to have a deep conversation with somebody and make them feel like you care, put your phone away. I've read that psychologically, even just having it on the table is going to make people feel like you're so open to that distraction that, you just don't have their attention. So people feel, I've been in lots of situations where people have been fidgety or they're looking at their phone so much. And if I'm talking about something important, I wrap it up really quick. I just totally end the conversation. I don't end it abruptly. I just make it sound like, okay, I was done. I'm at the end anyway. It's not worth the emotional energy to really talk about something deep when you feel like somebody's not even there. So be present, make eye contact, nod now and then. Don't be nodding all the time. Some people get so fidgety that you feel like, oh my gosh, just stop. Don't do that, but make sure they know you're engaged. And again, just, zip it. Just really make sure you're listening to what they have to say. So here's a good one. If you find that people are frequently saying, don't you remember I told you that? Or, lots of times if it's your significant other, it's like, I told you that 20 times. Like, really? You don't know that? And that's a whole other conversation. We're not talking about man-woman conversation because we know Mars and Venus. And when you're talking to a man, basically you sound like Charlie Brown's teacher. We remember that voice that wasn't a voice. It was just a lot of noise. Unless you say food or sports or football or sex. That's the only time that their brains perk up and they say, what? What'd you say? So anyway, another conversation. But anyway, if somebody often says that, unless you have brain damage, unless you have Alzheimer's, unless you absolutely have some kind of a problem where you can't retain anything, then that might be a sign that you're not listening real well. So figure out why you're not listening real well. It might be one of these points we're talking about. It might be one of the points that are coming up, and just learn how to listen a little bit better. Vina, I make a habit to put my phone away when I'm with somebody as much as I can. I love that. That's exactly what you should do. If something is important, put it away. Seriously, guys, what's going to be so important? Not that nothing would be important, but man, I know I'm one of the oldest on here, but we didn't have phones. We didn't have cell phones. When we went vacation for 2 weeks, nobody heard from you for 2 weeks. For all they knew, you were like dead in the ocean somewhere because nobody had any idea. But you know what? You got to really unplug from the world and really get the rest and relaxation that vacation's supposed to give you. So nothing's going to happen for an hour that you're talking to somebody that you can't, respond to afterwards. But show people respect. So they already told you that 3 times. Yeah. Improve your listening skills. And here's one of the things that you do. Here's a couple things you do. When you're listening to people, and this ties into something Bunny just said. When you're listening to people, how often are you starting to formulate your response? So you're not listening to listen. You're listening to respond. And if you're starting to think about how you're going to respond to what they're saying, sorry guys, the brain does not work in a way that you can do both things at one time. So if you're starting to formulate your response, you're not listening to what they have to say. So stop trying to formulate a response, just be engaged in what they're saying, and that's all. Another thing, okay, sometimes people can get a little boring, and sometimes it's really difficult to really stay with them. And so suddenly you're going through your shopping list, or thinking about what you have to do when you get home, or, what are we going to have for dinner tonight? Whatever it is, how often does that happen to all of us? Just have to rope that back in as quick as you can and be present. And here's an exercise you can do. Whether you do it out loud or not is totally irrelevant, but here's an exercise you can do to really keep you engaged. Make it like a test. How often have we all been told that if you're listening to somebody, you need to formulate a question after they finished, respond to them to clarify what they said. So if they just said whatever, they're really having a hard time, they're, not able to communicate with their husband well lately, they're gone into whatever, you follow up, you say, so my understanding is just, clarify for me. So you're really upset because you feel like you're gone in different directions. And here's what it does. It clarifies that you've understood what they're saying, because it's easy to misunderstand sometimes, but it also shows them that you really are showing them respect and compassion because you really care about what they want to say. Now, that being said, it's funny. I've had some really tough conversations with people years past where, there was a problem in the relationship and we had to sit down and talk about it. So, when I got to talk about what was really bothering me and got it all out, it was like, oh, it's great. Everything's hugs goodbye. We're all reconciled. And then later I would hear them reference it in another context and reference what was bothering me. And I think, oh my God, really? Is that what they heard? Because that wasn't even close to what we talked about. Were they listening at all? I was trying to think of an example like that, the only example I could think of, I was just trying to think about this a few minutes ago. Suppose you have a 13-year-old daughter, and we know what 13-year-old girls look like today. They don't look the way I looked when I was 13, but they're gorgeous and developed, and oh my God, they could be a bombshell. And so suppose she dresses like this little blonde bombshell in really tight clothes and really low cut and really short skirts, and you feel a little concerned as a parent. Oh my gosh, all over the news today, we're hearing all about sex trafficking and all this stuff. So you've got concern. So you have a conversation with her. Listen, I really need you to pull it back a little bit. Just be a little more conservative. This is scary. Good morning, Lori. I just really need you to, you got to help me here. And you have this big conversation about your fears and wanting to keep her safe. And boy, that other dress the other day, is just, red's not even your color anyway. You might just say that in jest. Well, to come back to that later, she might want to come back and clarify and say, so Mom, so what you're saying is I don't look good in red? Okay, this is what I'm talking about. She heard nothing else you said. So in this case, she needs to listen better, but this is why we need to listen better. And this is why a good exercise would be to repeat back what you heard. If you use that like you're taking a test, then it's going to make you listen really better, because it's okay, I'm going to be tested now because I have to repeat it back. So because I'm going to be tested, I'm really, really going to listen more closely. You don't even have to say it out loud. You don't have to. It's good if you do. But if you just treat it like a test, it's going to help you to listen better. If you think, okay, I'm going to have to repeat back what I heard, so now I have to listen really well. That'll help you to block everything else out. Stop thinking about what you're having for dinner, but think about what they're saying. Okay. So apply those things to a lot of the things we're going through. Because here's the deal with all these hot topics today. Somebody says BLM and you could immediately interpret that at least 3 or 4 different ways. So if somebody says that, have a conversation with the intention of understanding what they mean by that, because they might not mean what you think they mean at all. COVID. One of your friends says, this whole mask thing is driving me crazy. So many people are quickly interpreting that to say, oh, you don't care if people die. Okay, take a minute to talk to people with the intention of understanding, because I guarantee you that's not what they mean at all. People who are complaining about masks don't want people to die, but let's just listen to each other. We might have differing opinions, but let's take time to talk and just listen to understand each other. And that's the beginning of peace and compassion. And it will just, like I said, ripple effect happens. Yeah, listening to them. Oh, well, yeah, exactly. Rachel says listening to them to want to fix their issue. Boy, that's something men do a lot. You know, you tell a man your problems and you just want him to listen, but men are fixers and a lot of women are fixers too. Again, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Just listen. People just want you to listen. And they don't want you to fix their problem. If they ask your advice, like we said last week on another topic, don't ever tell them how to fix their problem. Take it back to them. Always lead them through questions to make their own decision, but don't ever solve their problems for them. Because if it goes wrong, guess whose fault it is? Okay, so all of this and what Bunny said too, you know, I heard this in Optavia, but, which is the health and wellness company I represent, but it's listen to understand, seek to understand rather to be understood. Okay. Who cares what you think? People will ask you, but this is about somebody else. This isn't all about you. Your intention should be to understand someone else. And hopefully their intention will be to understand you, but you can only control yourself. So this is all you have to care about. And then I also remembered a song from my childhood from the Catholic Church called Make Me a Channel of Your Peace. And there was a line in that said, "Oh Master, grant that I may never seek." And then it said, "To be understood as to understand." Same words, different way. I want to seek to understand more than I want to seek to be understood. That's so important. So if that's your intention, then I just really challenge you to think about some of these things. Think about some ways that you can start to listen better, that you can start to understand better. Because again, you can't change the whole world. We can't make everything better, but we can make ourselves better. And if you just touch one life and make one person's life better because you heard them, because they felt like you cared about them, it will have that ripple effect. And you know what? If that's all that you do in your whole life, that's worth it. To just touch one other life effectively and in a positive way, that's all you can ask for. So that's all I've got today. Thanks for being here. I will see you ladies next week. Same time, same place. Bye.